Right, Jane, Laura, so we are looking to get the Kickstarter ready for the next season of Queer and Pleasant Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we thought we'd look at some of the ways that we could make this more of a traditional crowdfunding campaign.
Okay, what did you have in mind?
Well, many of the most successful campaigns that we've had on our platform before have been things that offered a lot of plastic miniatures. So we're thinking maybe 600 plastic miniatures for the Queer and Pleasant Strangers new season.
See, I thought you were going to suggest, like, 2 plastic miniatures. They'd be, like, the 2 hosts. What would you even make 600 plastic miniatures out of?
Well, we could probably do one for every single character you'd ever done ever.
I still don't think that's going to hit 600.
I mean, I don't know. You've done, 6 skits per episode for 247 episodes?
I mean, that's going to be a lot of that's going to be a lot of not terribly well-defined one-off skit characters.
I mean, they don't have to be terribly well defined. This is Kickstarter. We're all about just as much plastic tat as possible.
Yeah, not so much here.
No?
No.
What about just a campaign, a legacy campaign? 7,000 extra cards. We'll add 7,000 extra cards to it.
There are cards in our podcast?
Yes.
I didn't know we started with cards.
Well, no, but what if we added 7,000 cards to it, just so we can really get the weight up there, really get the bloat in?
I mean, that's really antithetical to what we're trying to do with the podcast that is just a podcast.
Right. I'm hearing you. So what about something like a steelbook?
Again, I wouldn't... You don't need a steelbook for an MP3 that gets automatically downloaded off an RSS feed.
What about, I know some people like physical versions of things. We could do a cassette tape, a phonograph record, a wax cylinder, and maybe some sort of spirit capture device to literally get the very essence of the podcast right in there. 250's coming up. We really need to get ahead for this.
I'm really not digging any of this.
Right, so what I'm hearing is 8,000 new cards, 900 miniatures, the steel book, and we'll just go ahead and just throw a few more things in there for you, just to make sure it really, really fits with the whole brand, and that we at Kickstarter get the absolute most of our 90% that we'll be keeping from your crowdfunding campaign. Okay?
Yeah, no.
Well, go on. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnetdale.
And I'm not Jane Eris Magnetdale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for 2 queer trans women. That's us. We're married wifey types.
We do.
We talk about the media we've consumed in the week and do silly voices and skits and basically just try and make each other have a bit of a giggle and catch up what we've been up to.
Yeah.
It's been a week.
It has been a week.
It's barely begun and it's been a week.
It's only just begun.
No preamble. What have we played this week?
Well, what have we played? What have we played? You destroyed me at War of the Rings 2nd edition.
I had a good game of it.
An amazing game of it. Beat me on, was so close to beating me on 2 separate fronts. and eventually got me on a military campaign, which is not really what the Free People's specialty is.
No. So, yeah, I had some luck, and I had some... I'm just going to stay very quiet and hope you don't notice this and try and jump on some things. I waited until you left a couple of strongholds completely undefended and then ran in and parked myself on them.
Yes. Well, you didn't. You sort of popped in, grabbed them, and then fucked off again.
No, I forgot that you could retake them as easily as you could on one of them, and then I started camping them. But point, yeah, had I realised, I probably would have left some people on that one. But I found a couple of not terribly guarded places and snuck in and almost got my win.
Yeah.
I'm glad I managed to win that way because, like, I was most of the way up Mount Doom.
Yep.
But, like,
You had 12 corruption. You had 10
yeah.
out of 12
I
corruption.
had 10 out of 12 corruption, and I still had to get 2 more steps up Mount Doom, and I was like, I do not like my chances of not getting corrupted.
You had the -2 in there.
Yeah, it existed, but it was... I'd been pulling, like, 3 damage at a time on average out of that tub, and I was like, I really want to avoid that gamble unless I can find a way to get my damage down, and then military victory became viable.
Yeah. And once again, it's a weird case of luck when we play games, where, like, I was rolling, like, anything but what I needed, and you were regularly going, I rolled all 6s. It's like, cool, I guess I'm completely defeated.
Yeah, that did not help your situation, because that's the thing, is like, on my side, my armies are very fragile and very hard to replace, and I'm very lucky that not too many of my units got killed, because I can't just throw units at the problem.
Yeah, but that didn't matter, because you were barely even, like, spawning new people in. It was just like, okay, cool, just gonna fuck you up with my starting armies, bye. I was like, okay. That did not go well for me, but it's good to get back into the game. It was nice to replay it again. I realised it was 2 years since we'd last set it up.
Well,
because it popped up in my memories as a game we hadn't played in a while. But
it was not as traumatic a learn. This like the relearn was not nearly as bad as the initial learn.
We only had to watch it once.
Yeah.
We watched the harsh rules guide for how to play, which is, I think, one of the ways we learnt before. I think we also previously watched the one other video with some ideas and some tactics tacked on the end of that. So all in all, I think our first learn was 3 hours, and then we spent like 6 hours actually playing the game. And this was, 3 or 4 hours total?
Yeah.
But so about what playing the game is anyway.
Yeah.
So I think we did all right. But yeah, I hope we get to play more of that, because I like it, but it's a bit of a time investment.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. It's not a quick setup, tear down, or play.
Yeah.
But
also, I've never won a game in the... We've only played 3 times, but that's...
I'd be interested at some point to try swapping sides of the conflict.
We should try that.
Yeah.
You can show me how it's done. What have you played?
I've been playing some stuff on my Playdate this week.
Yeah, you have.
My little yellow handheld with the crank on it. So I got 2 new games this week. One of them is called Star Sled, and it is the easier of the two to explain. It is a sort of arcadey game. It's similar but different to... I talked about last week there being a game that was basically asteroids, but you dashed to break the asteroids.
Yes.
This is another game where you are controlling a ship in space from a sort of top-down perspective, rotating the ship using the crank. But the gimmick here is that there are these little sparkly stars out in space that you are trying to, like, draw a trail... there's a trail coming out the back of your ship, and you're trying to draw a circle around the star to collect it and get your points. There are a certain number of them in a level, and you can't collect more than one with a circle, so you have to be careful, like, if there's 2 near each other, to, like, thread between them and make a circle. Starts nice and easy. It's just, here's some little arrows on the screen to tell you which direction some of them are in, do a little loop around them. Then you start getting things like obstacles to avoid, enemies that are chasing you, a dash to help you sort of clear distance to get away from enemies. I just got to my first boss fight, which was a big space station with, like, little semicircular alcoves in the outside, and you could sort of fly in, and there was just enough space to make a loop around one of these sparkles. But after you flew in, there would be, like, lightning for a few seconds covering the entrance. So you had to sort of carefully loop and loop and loop until the lightning stopped and make your escape while the lightning was off.
Yeah.
And you had to do this around, like, the various ports around the space station. It is a simple idea, plays really nicely, really good execution of use of the crank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see where it goes, because it's already throwing a lot of ideas and going like, cool, we introduced an idea for 1 or 2 levels, let's throw you something new to play with. The other one I need to put more time into. It's a really interesting concept, but it is slow, and it's not clicked with me yet. It's a game called Saturday Edition. So here's the preamble plot. There is a species of aliens out in space that wanted to make contact with humanity, but they were a very physically fragile species, so they abducted a single human to try and see how things would go, And they got on very well, and the human got on very well with them, and ended up being like, you know what, don't put me back on Earth, I'll just stay here, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Until there is like a big scary regime change on the planet, and
no.
a new group comes into power who are not pro-human, and in order to keep this human safe, some of the pro-human people sent him back to Earth. And this man tries to tell his story upon getting back to Earth, and tries to tell his story of the 4 years he spent you will not find any evidence I was on this planet for the last 4 years because I was abducted by aliens. And it seems like it is a side-scrolling, almost like a point-and-click adventure about a 1 week period, or maybe 5 days, between this guy, going, yes, I will be speaking to the news, and, the news being like, yep, on Saturday's edition, we're gonna tell his story. The 5 days between that and when his story actually goes out. And it seems like maybe some people are after him. He's maybe talked about some stuff he wasn't supposed to talk about. The game starts with police banging on his door and him having to sneak out the window. I like a lot of, the concept around it. What I'm struggling with is, it is a game with a very slow walk cycle, and so far, my first 20 minutes with it were very slowly walk to a location, very slowly walk across a room to talk to a person. Okay, cool, you want a thing from that location? Okay, slowly walk back, go to the new location, slowly walk. Okay, that place is closed. The slow walk speed is a problem only in that, in this early section of the game, I don't know enough about what I'm doing to know clearly how to solve the problems I'm faced with, which means I'm doing a lot of backtracking, exploring, trying to click on everything and work out what I've missed, which is a little laborious when you are moving very slowly. My opinion on it might improve. I like the concept. I'm on a little bit of initial hurdle, or it's just not clicking.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you played this week?
We played some Mechanica.
Yeah?
Which was the little engine building game with the puzzle pieces.
Oh, but the things that fall in the hole!
Yeah, so you're building a little factory that creates little home assistance robots, like Roomba type things. You start with a very basic thing that makes the most basic type of robot, and a truck that will ship out one robot.
Yeah.
And throughout the game, you are adding puzzle pieces to this central board dial thing, and as things go further around, it gets rotated at the end of every turn, and as things go further around, they get cheaper, and eventually they get recycled.
They fall in a little hole.
They fall in a little hole, so the game basically tidies itself away, which is really convenient. It's a very cute idea I saw on I think it was an Orshucks a couple of years ago, and I was like, that looks like a really fun game.
Yeah.
And yeah, really enjoyed the first game of it. We were a bit sleepy, to be honest. It was quite late in the day when we decided to start learning, but yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to get a copy, because it seemed like it was only available directly from the publisher, and they're American, and their shipping was expensive. And then I found it in a clearance sale on Zatu, so I was like,
Yay.
cool, 20 quid, yes please. But yeah, it's a fun little engine building game. I would like to see more of it. There is an app so that you can have little AR explanations of what all the tiles do.
Yeah.
If you do this, you will get an extra friend, or this will create or upgrade a basic into a medium level type robot, and eventually eventually creating different types of robots, or upgrading them, or duplicating them. It's a really cool idea for a game, and it's, I don't know how replayable it's going to be, because there's only, I think, 7 different types of tile to go in there.
I feel like there's a good degree of replayability in that, depending on what you have available to you and when in the early game, is really going to determine the shape that your early factory takes,
Yes.
and that is going to determine a lot of your where you spec things later.
I feel like it might be a game you could actually solve, potentially, because there is every possibility that you could get to a point where you know the game so well, it's okay, I always want to put this in this sort of position. I always, the duplicator, it came out quite late, hadn't seen it before, didn't really know how it would work. If you left a space at the front of your factory to put one in and go, okay, this is always going to pump out and drop 3 basics from my basic creation position, and then like later on work out other things to sort of go around it.
I mean,
like I feel like you could get to that stage, but
to a degree, but also like that is banking a lot on the fact that you will be able to get those pieces when they come up and someone else won't in place.
Yeah.
And that you won't have turned up something that would have been good, better than nothing that could have been there.
Yeah, probably easier in 2-player, but I think it plays up to 4 or 5. I know 4, because there's only 4 baseboards. Nice dual layer board. Little bit curvy, it is starting to curl a little bit, but I'm finding that more and more with dual layer boards. So pop them under something heavy and hope for the best. But yeah, that's a fun little game. I look forward to playing more of it. But from what I've played so far, very much enjoyed Mechanica.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you played?
What else have I played this week?
Oh.
We played some more Vagrant Song together.
We did. We got through like 2 or 3 more missions of that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So we've started to get a bit more choose your own adventure with it.
Yeah. What I will say as we've gotten further into this game is I do really like mechanically some of the ideas for missions we've had. But I also feel like this game does a poor job of explaining its mechanics when it's doing something different to the usual rules.
Yes.
And at least part of that is it will do a thing that isn't normally how the rules work, and then not explain it and go, at some point a thing will happen and we'll tell you what's going on, which, like, I understand what they're going for, but it can lead to some frustration and some confusion going, wait, with understanding your basic win and loss conditions and, like, what the game state is until it has happened.
Yes, and understanding what is meant by certain positions, certain things. Like, even when we looked up FAQs online to find, like, what other people were saying about it, it's like, yes, other people have said this is confusing too. They said, don't worry about it, you'll understand when you get there. I worked it out from context, but there was never anything solid saying, oh, this is what this thing is now.
It doesn't do a good job of going, unlike previous missions, this mission we're going to set up differently. This will happen when this happens. Don't worry about the consequence, but, like, this is the direction it'll be going for now.
I think for me, it was that first one. So, at the end of every mission, you have this thing called the camp phase. During the camp phase, you can, like, heal up, buy new stuff, purchase new skills, maybe save some money for future things, and then you do this thing called Witness the In-Between, which is you draw a card, and it's just the next card from the deck, and you read the sort of scenario on the front. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. You pick from 3 possible options, and you proceed. And one of the things we got to was basically a very much choose your own adventure. Do you do this, or this? Cool. Flip to this page, or this page, or this page, depending on what your choice was. And that was nice from a point of view of, hey, we're going to experience this in a slightly different branching way. And that's quite interesting. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure if we're going to go back and potentially have more options to explore places. Will certain options not be available later on as a way of going, hey, you can maybe explore some of the bits you missed previously, and we'll work back to that? Don't know, can't say. I know that there are cards that are in one of the wrapped decks at the beginning, and most of those cards are stuff you need for general gameplay, and some of them are like, hey, don't look at these too closely or do much with them, just put them to one side. They will come up later.
Yeah.
But the thing that frustrated me, certainly with the first one, they decided that something that had a very specific name wasn't called that anymore. It's like, okay, well, is this because it reacts differently or does things differently? And it kind of did. I'm trying to talk around spoilers a little bit, but it was frustrating of going, so this isn't that thing that we usually encounter? Oh, okay. And it doesn't react in the same way, but it does react partly in the same way, but only half of that. And there's also a bunch of other mechanics. And then the one directly after that was, cool, there's all this other stuff going on. You've got all of these places you need to investigate, and the win condition we're not really going to explain. And it got to a point like where we'd been playing it for about an hour, and we'd explored all but one event token, and I was like, I just everything seemed so unlikely.
Yeah.
That like because the basically you have you can put like you're told to during setup to put tokens on various tracks. Sometimes tokens go in the bindle where you draw out your regular tokens for like items you'll pick up generally, and sometimes there'll be some scenario specific ones that will just be like, here is a number token, it goes in the bindle. If you draw it out by random chance, you get that thing.
Yeah.
And the only thing left on the board was break the haint X number of times to discover this.
Yeah.
And it was like, this doesn't seem like that would like, I can't see how narratively that leads to what we're supposed to be doing. And it literally just led to, okay, well, with that's now happened. Read this thing. Okay, well, that's generated a new event on the board, but that also doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, well, now we've got that. That actually seems like a red herring and actively bad.
But, like, the thing is, in hindsight, I like a lot of what that mission was trying to do.
Yeah, I love it, but it was quite confusing going, like, I need to understand where the end point is, and it's like, we're not telling you. Like, I think maybe I like a little bit more explainer of, hey, in this game, like, yeah, sure, do use the thematic story bit at the beginning, and then go, in this round, on this part of the game, assuming you've just come here, because maybe there are other ways to get to that point in the game, and maybe these things are already explained at that point. But if this is your first time encountering this thing, just a little explainer of, like, this is a different thing. Don't worry, all will become clear once you've experienced every single thing on the board.
I'm enjoying it, but if we passed it on to other people to play, I would go, if you're ever unsure of how a mission sets up, just message us, we'll explain to you what's going on.
Yeah, or just, like, write a little fact to go in there, like, don't worry, these things will be explained. Okay, for this sort of mission, this is going to happen, and that will be a bit different. Trust the process.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the thing, like, I was struggling without a rigid boundary for the game. And I apparently just didn't want to tell me that. I just wanted to be a bit like, hey, it's the mystery.
That's fair.
That is fair, but yeah, I'm still going to keep playing. Still going to fight on and find out what to do. Well, what about you? What have you played?
Well, I will mention it a little here, but I will get into how I got to this point in the watched segment this week. I've been learning how to make games for the Playdate.
Oh, heck.
Very, 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 very basic learning, but I've been learning Playdate game making.
Yay.
So there is a neat online browser-based tool that if you own a Playdate, you can use for developing Playdate games. That is part visualizer and part scripting in something called Pulp Script,
Okay.
which is very if this then this conditional parameters. It's set up a parameter, increase number by it by X by whatever when things happen. But you've also got a visual element where it's like, I've got a little program within this that I can use to draw my little bit of pixel art, and I don't have to code where this item's going to be on the screen. I can look at what the screen looks like, and I can just take that item I've made and drop it there and make
So a bit like Click and Play and Game Factory and Multimedia Fusion.
But then you've got like the sort of benefit of being able to go like, cool, that tile that's on that map screen that I'm looking at right now, I can click on it and click script, and here is the object-specific script, and it's taking me straight to it.
Cool.
So I made a little test game that currently exists. It's on the Playdate.
Oh, heck.
Yeah, it's over here. That functionally... So it's a top-down little adventure game.
Okay.
There are spikes that go up and down out of the ground, and if you touch them, you lose health. There are some enemies bouncing back and forth across the room, and if you touch them, you lose health. I got the health to display as little hearts that go from a full heart to a half heart to an empty heart across them.
Oh, heck.
There is keys that you can pick up, and it adds to a little key counter in the top right of the screen that you can use to open locked doors.
Oh, heck.
And I made a Playdate-specific mechanic that I worked out how to do all by myself, and this was not something from the tutorial. I worked out how to make it so that there is an item in the first room that is a little mini playdate you can go pick up.
Right.
And once you have the playdate, you can turn the crank on the playdate to refill your health if you've taken damage. Right now there is no limit to how much health you can give yourself.
Right.
If you've taken damage, you can fill your health back up, and then when you reach full health, it doesn't fill up any further.
Yeah.
That was originally the problem. It would let you give yourself more health than your health bar had.
Right.
And I thought for a while that I'd broken the ability to take damage, but what had actually happened is I'd cranked and given myself more health than I appeared to. So I would take damage and it was lowering a number but not getting low enough to have my hearts go down again.
Yeah.
I've got things already that I'm like, I didn't add a sound effect. I want to add a sound effect when doing the crank to refill your health, like a little refill your health thing. But I have a little thing.
Hey, look at you.
It says LKB on the screen of my Playdate, and then when I pull it up,
Yeah.
I've got a tiny little screen here.
Oh, heck.
You can run around with the D-pad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You got the playdate. Use the crank to heal damage. Whoa.
yeah. And then there's the keys and things, and there's a second room, and a little flag that ends the game. Or if you run out of health, you die. But it's a functional game. It is technically playable on a Playdate.
Yeah, it is. And I am playing it. Is the peach at the end?
Yeah, it's meant to be a flag, but I couldn't work out a better way with that resolution to make it look like a flag. I tried to make it flutter originally, and I couldn't work out how to...
You win.
Yeah, I needed to work out, like, I could do 2 frames of animation, but I couldn't work out how to make the second frame of the flag look more like a fluttering flag. But it's functionally a game that works.
Yeah, it is. That's
And
the first time I played with that.
Yay! Well, I hope
That
that
was my first playdate experience.
your first Playdate experience was my barely a game, but there it
It
is.
was a game.
Yeah!
Played it. Things happened. It had mechanics.
It had mechanics. It technically works. I worked out how to make the sort of enemies that are bouncing back and forth on the screen, how to make them, if they hit a wall, start going the other way, and make a little bounce sound when they hit the wall.
Yeah.
There's a sound effect when the spikes go in and out the floor.
Yeah.
I made a playable thing.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And I am already thinking about, like, what I could do differently, because I was thinking about, like, cranking as a health restoring mechanic, and then being like, what if you made a game where deliberately you either couldn't avoid taking damage, or it was very hard to avoid taking damage? And
What if you were automatic, like if you were poisoned?
I maybe being poisoned, or maybe just something like there is a maze, and, like, there is... If you correctly, like, very quickly move through it, you will get to a safe spot with a little bit of health left, so you can crank your health back up and then try and do the next bit. But if you don't, like, you didn't get through it quick enough, you ran out of health, so, like, trying to maybe make it, like, use the health going down as essentially a timer mechanic. Like, I had some thoughts, and I'm like, I could play around and make something
What if your
playable.
health is represented by, like, canned spam, and you have to, like, undo the can in order to take your health?
Yeah. I like the idea of, like, trying to work out some mechanic with the crank that I like, and that being something I built a little experience around. But I functionally got all the stuff to work. I need to work out how to make a title screen, and how to do, like, can I make checkpoints so that if someone dies, they go back to a checkpoint rather than back to the start of a game.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm working it out. I'm
That's
learning.
a good start.
I'm learning. I worked out enough today to, when I was having problems with my code, that were things that, like, the video I had watched to learn from, like, didn't explain.
Yeah.
I was able to problem solve and debug my own code.
Yeah.
And go, aha, that's the problem. I failed to use an uppercase U right there. Yeah.
Yep. Case sensitivities. Is it one of those things that, well, I mean, if it's not typing at all, you don't really have to worry about things like, I left a semicolon out. Oh, no.
Yeah. Like, there's a bit of typing involved. Okay. But, like, it's the thing that I find useful is this does a lot of, like, when you're in the script editor, it'll automatically do certain structural things for you to be helpful. Like, it'll automatically put end in the appropriate number of times it needs to have, like, the things close off.
Yeah.
It will let you know if there's an issue on a line, it will let you know which line is causing the problem and somewhat what the problem is. There is a good degree of, if you've written something and it, like, isn't going to function, Like, it doesn't make sense code-wise.
Right.
It, like, you try and click off the window, it will go like, no, this code will not... Like, you don't have to boot it to find out it won't work. It's
Yeah.
like, you click off the window and it's like, no, that code won't work.
Yeah.
Like, right now, that there is something... It won't catch things like, you misspelt a variable you named and you've, like,
Yeah,
misspelt
yeah.
it here. Necessarily, because it might think you're going
Creating
to
a variable,
create a
yeah.
variable of that name later. But it will catch, like, okay, there's something wrong with this line in which you maybe didn't put a space between the greater than symbol and the value,
Right.
or something like that. It's specific enough with the errors that I've not had too bad a time troubleshooting it.
Nice.
So yeah,
It's interesting because I was on Itch.io the other day just
yeah.
going, I've not really looked through Itch.io storefront, let's see what do. And the number of Playdate games I saw in
Yeah.
there, I was like, that's really cool.
I am waiting until I have finished season 1 before I
Yeah.
start downloading other people's games, but I needed a distraction today, and
Yeah.
I've wanted to learn to code for a while, and like this is enough of a thing where I'm like, it's a little silly thing I want to play around with. I feel justified in spending some time learning to make things for the little tiny little game box.
Yeah.
What about you? You played anything else?
Not really, no, it's not really been very played.
Yeah, it's not been a hugely played week.
No. Were you got anything else?
No, I think that's it for played for me as well.
Well then.
Time for this.
Do you struggle with labels in clothing?
Yeah.
Do they make you feel uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Well, try the new Label Gun. It removes labels from clothes.
Oh, yes.
That's right, just completely gone. Just point it at the label and boom, gone. That whole label's just gone. There's no worry about carefully pulling things apart, no worries about the seams splitting, no worries about whether you're actually causing damage by just trying to get rid of that damn uncomfortable label.
Oh my god, thank you.
It also works on self-imposed labels. Do you feel like you're an imposter? Bang! Gone!
Oh, yay.
Have you ever said anything like you're not worthy? Not good enough?
Yeah?
Bang! Gone! Those
Oh.
labels are gone!
Oh,
That's right, order now and you can get the Seam Stealer! It removes uncomfortable seams from clothing.
yes.
Are you worried about, like, where the two bits of fabric join? That's not a comfortable texture.
Oh.
What if that wasn't there at all?
Oh, everything is good here.
The Seam Stealer! Just completely gone, completely removed from clothing. And reality. Does it seem like a nice day out? Bang! It's a nice day out. Does it seem like a good idea? Bang! It's a good idea. Does that person seem nice? Bang! They are nice. Yay! That's Label Gun and the Seam Stealer. Check them out today, just $19.95. This is a public service announcement. An announcement for the public.
Today, we are letting you know your trans friends will not be issuing you a I'm not a transphobe card.
That is correct. They don't care if you're one of the good ones, or if you have a really good reason for wanting to cross the transphobia picket line.
You will not be issued a free pass to opt out of guilt.
Indeed.
If you feel guilty about your actions, maybe don't ask for permission to do those things anyway, but consider maybe you feel guilty because you shouldn't be doing the thing.
Exactly. Allyship is not always about doing the easy thing. It's about doing the right thing. And if your morals disappear the moment that they are challenged, then perhaps they weren't real morals.
Indeed.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
What have we put in our eyes, I suppose? Oh, we watched a film together.
We did.
We watched Spiderhead.
We did.
How to explain Spiderhead?
It's a film about possibly very unethical testing of trial pharmaceuticals on
Yeah.
prisoners.
The basic premise, I think, is what if you, as a person who's being sent to prison, were offered, we could send you to a prison that is like really nice, like you could have like nice meals and a room to yourself and like no locked doors, and it's like it's very chill and casual and friendly and nice. We will like routinely test medications on you and chemicals on you and find out what they do, and you will be like a medical test subject, but like outside of that you'll have like arcade machines to play on, and like
Yeah.
you know, you'll be very like nicely looked after and your life will be like pretty chill.
Yeah.
Just, you know, sometimes we're going to inject you with weird shit. And if that sounds like a recipe for, you know, exploitation of people who are in a position where they really have no other choice but to do what you say,
You'd be right.
you'd be right. Chris Pine? Chris
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is very good in it.
I think this is the first time I've seen him in anything where he's being sinister.
Yeah.
And he did it a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. This is one of those stories where, like, I don't think the end result is, like, necessarily gonna catch you too much off guard. But what I think this film excelled at was its performances and the journey to get there.
Yes. Because actors required to do quite a lot of very intense acting in short bursts in different ways as they are doing, like, hey, you're trying this drug now, or you're trying this drug now.
I don't think it's too spoilery to say a lot of the drugs involve impact on mood and how a person behaves.
I mean, that's in the trailer.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I'm saying. And, like, I think that the sheer range of, like, emotional extremes performed by the same performers is really
I
impressive.
think they did a great job.
They did a good job of, like, playing very sincere extreme emotion without it seaming too caricaturish.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of it. It felt like one of those films that probably had quite a low budget, because a lot of it is done in, like, a couple of rooms.
Yeah.
There's not, like, a huge amount of, like, big outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
And where it is, it's, like, a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end. Like, I don't know how much that, like, budgetary that required, but, like, it felt like one of those ones that was just, like, a good, like, focused film that they managed to do a good amount with just through storytelling and great acting.
Most of the film was maybe four key actors and some extras in the background, a couple of key locations that were, like, fairly visually simple, and some things stuck on people's backs that lit up and you could put little glass tubes in.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it seemed like it was, like, it made a lot out of the budget it had, I think.
Yeah, and I think they did a great job.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It ended very strongly.
Yeah. Strong end.
Yeah.
And strong ramp of tension, like, especially that last half hour of, like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was it was I as much as I may have seen some of the beats, there was enough that I didn't see coming that I very much enjoyed it.
I think also just the way it was done was enough to carry it, even when you did go, I reckon I know what's happening here.
Yeah. The execution was still enthralling and captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah, real good film, that.
Yep.
Enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you watch this week?
That was my watched.
Well, the only other thing I really watched was, as I alluded to before, I watched some videos learning pulp script.
Yeah.
So on the YouTube channel Squid God, I watched Pulp Script, A Beginner's Guide, and Making an Adventure Game for Playdate.
Yeah.
That was basically it.
That was basically it.
Yeah.
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 Good, informative.
Good.
How long are we talking? Like an hour?
So,
half hour?
both videos were like maybe 15, 20 minutes long each, but
Considering,
obviously...
like, so with half an hour's programming language, you managed to make a passable game.
So I say that's 20 minutes if you just sit and watch the thing.
Yeah.
For the making a adventure game for Playdate, I will say this video... Well, one criticism I would make of this, like, it did teach me all the information I needed to know, but it did a lot of trying to get me to run before I could walk a little bit. And I had to, at the end of the process, really go back and work out why I'd done a lot of the things I'd done.
Yeah.
Like, a good example
Type this in. Why?
So the problem is like, I think where it really struggled was, a lot of times he would be on part of the coding that would be like, when you touch this spike, take 1 damage.
Right.
Like something like that. And he'd go, I could show you here right now how to make that spike do 1 damage, but instead we're going to go make a universal variable for damage and go do this over here. And like,
Okay, so you're making,
Yeah.
like, overall routines, and then it would be a call to that routine?
Yes, which I understand why he's doing it, but he skipped over the step of, like, what I think he needed to do at the start is go, if you were just going to program a variable on this specific thing in isolation, here is how you would do it, but we're going to delete that and show you how to do it in a way that, like, will apply more broadly. Like, he's he jumped over the specifics and was like, I'm going to start building an overall rule without really explaining to you how that overall rule works.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can see ways you might do it, which would be... So you're starting on the PC and then moving it onto Playdate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then you've got, like, I'm guessing, like, some text input stuff there and, like, just a screen of what the Playdate screen will be showing
so
you
there
in
is
the
there is a pause base, like a paused game state shown on a little Playdate. You can go to a section of scripting per object or per overall for game.
Yeah.
And you can open in browser the current build of your game and play it in browser as it will work on real hardware.
Right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, I guess probably the way I would try and work around something like that is go, okay, we're going to code this into the spike, but that's not really good practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste that. We're going to move it over here to global rather than local to that specific object. And then we're going to make like a, hey, this is a thing. And then on the spikes, I guess you're putting a call to send one damage to health.
It's a video that is trying to teach you the right way to do some of these coding things before it has taught you the basics of how to function. Because I feel like what this tutorial lacked, and what I had to sort of go do myself, was when I wanted, after the tutorial, to bodge in a mechanic of my own,
Right.
I hadn't really been given any examples of, this is how you do a very basic thing in isolation just to check a mechanic works.
Right.
Like, if you're not trying to make an overall global rule, and a big overarching thing that'll work everywhere, you're just like, does this work the way I think it does?
Yeah.
I need to be able to just, on a single individual object, go, do this thing. Does it work? Cool. Okay, I'll work out, the smarter way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does a lot of, he'll tell you what to type without necessarily explaining the why terribly well. So it was a lot of, I would do a thing, see it working, and then go, cool, I'm going to sit with this code for a minute, and pause and go, what is that doing? Why is it doing it? Do I understand what's happening?
Yeah.
But there were points in it where I was like, okay, I can copy this thing to here and then tweak it. The tweaks are working the way I thought, and that's where I got more help, was once I had the basics down, going, cool, can I change things from what he suggested and not break it? And if it does break, roll it back and go, why did that break?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm really feeling like I'm picking stuff up.
Yeah. And is the dev environment, is that free? Is that something you just get from the Playdate website?
It is free. I don't know if you have to have the Playdate for it to be free, or if it's just free for everyone.
Right.
I think it's free for everyone. But yeah, there's either there's an SDK that you can download to do more traditional coding and just do code by itself and load it into a virtual Playdate on your PC and test it there, or the little online browser environment, which has those visual tools that are really nice. And then you can either load it onto the Playdate via USB, or if you've got a Playdate already, you can upload it to your Playdate account, and then you open up your Playdate. It's like, you've got a new game available. Is that one you just made?
Oh, heck.
It downloads the way the other ones do as a little present. I'm like, that thing I made is a little present.
A gift from me.
A gift from me.
Yay.
And it's something, look, that's no more practical than using a USB cable, but it's kind of charming having I got a little present from me.
Yay.
So yeah, I've been learning Playdate and Pulp Script.
Nice. That sounds
It's
adorable.
functionally working.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, that's everything I've watched this week, really.
Well then.
Time for this.
Laura, we've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you need some way to get slightly less than the legally required maximum of caffeine into your body in a liquid?
I mean, the next week and a half are going to be very busy for me, so yeah.
Then try Crimson Method Energy Fluids.
Oh.
That's right. From the people that brought you Crimson Method Energy Gel comes a whole new range. Bubblegum Brain Tsunami, Behemoth Sweat, Synaptic Frenzy, Tactical Fusion Matrix.
Those all sound like flavours.
They are. There's even Nuclear Blue Raspberry Tornado.
I mean, though some of those words have flavors associated with them.
Blue. Delicious
I mean,
blue.
look,
Om nom nom.
me, yes, with the synesthesia.
Yeah, that's great. So, do you want that and almost enough caffeine to kill a person?
I mean, as long as it's almost and not definitely, then yeah.
Legally 1 microgram below the maximum allowed allowance.
I mean, below is still below.
Yeah, a micron below what is gonna kill you. I mean, that's probably fine, right?
Yeah.
Probably drink several of those a day without problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Crimson Method Energy Gel. Gotta love how you just really just pour that can up and then just wait for it to drip.
Yep.
The sensation of it almost burning through your tongue. That's the taste of sugar and caffeine in a range of vibrant colours. Crimson Method Energy Liquids. Because... deadlines. Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I've been hearing some numbers from the people in finance,
Right.
and we got a little slap on the wrist this week.
Okay, how bad?
Okay, so let me give you the context.
Right.
Well, okay, look, I'll tell you how it's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
We did get fined $8 million.
$8 million.
And she's like, that's not great. That is money that could have been in our pockets.
That's like 4% of my bonus.
Right. But like, look, here's where it's not so bad.
Right.
It was our punishment for you remember what we were doing with the really scammy microtransactions we were doing where we we lied about the what the rates were for getting the rare drops from the loot boxes and we said it was a 1 in 100 chance, but it was actually a 1 in 100,000.
Yeah. And we kept turning it down for specific players who we knew we could, extract more money from.
So,
no one else gonna hunt that whale.
So we scammed like what? 300 million out of the player base, something like that. Yeah, that's what the $8 million fines
right,
for.
Right.
That's
so
our
it's just an admin fee for the 300 million.
That's what I'm hearing. It's like, how poor people say you're not allowed to, park in certain places, and we say to them, ha ha ha, there's just a fee for parking there.
I mean, you can't park there. I can park there.
$1,000 is just what you pay to park there.
Yeah, and that's just reasonably priced parking in the city.
Exactly. So like, what I'm learning from the guys in finance is, we lost $8 million, but we earned $300 million and only had to pay $8 million of that back to say sorry. So I vote we do it again.
Oh yeah, and the state that issued that fine, that processing fee, they're contributing again this year, aren't they?
I mean, let's hope so.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
I listened to a couple of songs from a new band I hadn't heard before. So the band is called a Marionette. A Marionette? It looks like the word marionette, but with an A at the start of it, I think. Mm-hmm. The track I found first was a track called Baddest. Very playful, intricate rock with some, funk influences.
Nice.
Real good diversity of cast of band members. Mm-hmm. The song is just a fun, upbeat track about two people who are really into each other physically, trying to capture that excitement of, oh shit, you're into me too. Hell yeah. Lots of, funky little electronic sounds alongside the sort of more traditional guitars.
Yeah.
The other track by them I listened to was called Modern Disco. In this one, vocally, there's a lot of, early Michael Jackson style, vocal intonations going on. There's a lot of, pronunciations of words that feel similar to that. Audibly, there is some, disco sounds mixed in with some, quite fast, intense rock.
Disco.
Really enjoy this band's sound. I wouldn't compare... I'm going to make a comparison to a band. I wouldn't necessarily compare their sound, but their, vibe and energy of their tracks. Kind of similar to Planet Booty. There is a sort of, playful, not taking itself too seriously nature to the way they're sort of mashing up genres and playing around with genres. Yeah, they were fun. They've got a unique sound. I enjoyed them. What about you? You listened to anything this week?
It's something I've listened to repeatedly for several weeks now, but I keep forgetting to mention here for some reason, even though we have a whole section of things we've listened to. Apparently things we've had earworming for weeks on end didn't really make it in. But I want to mention Angus the Prize-Winning Hog by the Toxards. which I first encountered on TikTok, gosh, about a month ago, and then it has sort of repeatedly bounced around my head since then, to the point where it's like I'm gonna have to listen to it to get it out of my head. Cool, that's sated me for 20 minutes. I need you to give me the pig. Occasionally during live streams, just like finding myself humming it. Stop.
Yeah.
Angus the prize-winning hog.
Angus the prize-winning hog.
The music video for that is fucking wild.
It's intense. There's a lot happening.
Yeah, like, it starts off as like a children's book type thing. It's got a real sort of like oompa band rhythm to it, and then it goes into some more rock, and then very metal. It gets almost operatic for a moment, and then there's like some pretty intense metal during the whole Butcher Man scene, and then it's got this sort of just beautiful ramp down, and then back into the storybook stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been really enjoying that. I've listened to a couple of their other songs so far. I couldn't name any of them yet, but yeah, I just thought I should finally give that a mention, because it's a fun jam to listen to, and the music video is fucking wild. But yeah, that's the important thing I've listened to. I've also been catching up on podcasts, but we talk about catching up on podcasts a lot on this show,
Yeah.
so I don't think they need to know any more of that. I tell you what we did listen to.
What?
Listen to our appearance on Talking to Women About Video Games.
We did. We were on Talking to Women About Video Games with the
Yeah.
lovely Jonathan Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's out now. You can watch it as a video with, like, see us on camera.
See us on
Talking to the
camera.
lovely Jonathan.
Yeah. Just Jonathan is confused by everything in our living room.
Just constantly like, oh, you have so many things.
You have so
going
many
on.
things to look at. Yes, I have ADHD. I need constant stimulation.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's that's up on the Talking to Women About Video Games YouTube channel. It's I think the SoundCloud is already out as well now, so you can check that on the YouTube channel. So yeah, you can see all that stuff. Have you listened to anything else?
No, that's it for me, really.
Well then.
Time for this.
Are you a trans person?
Yeah.
Are you a trans person who's known on the internet?
Yeah.
Are you being required to have opinions about things?
Uh-huh.
You may be entitled to compensation.
Tell me more.
The Trans Opinion Compensation Scheme might be right for you. That's right. If you've been required to have an opinion about absolutely anything at all, simply based on the fact that you're trans, have you had things spoiled for you?
Yeah.
Have you had information spoiled for you? Have you been forced to rush through content you were really enjoying, just relishing?
Yeah.
Have you been forced to watch things that are absolutely horrible just so that you can give your opinion because you're expected to have an opinion about everything?
Yeah.
Then try the Trans Opinion Compensation Scheme. You may be entitled to some cash. That's some cash from the Trans Opinion Compensation Scheme. Get it checked out now.
Okay, guys. So, I've got all the tour dates all sorted now. We're all booked in. So we'll probably be spending most of the rest of spring. We'll probably be buzzing around, mostly up down the west coast, and then we're gonna sort of be heading across and up the east coast. Then we're probably gonna head into Canada for a few weeks. We're gonna just like bumble around Canada. I guess we'll probably head into Alaska at that point as well. At which point we'll bounce across the pond there, and we'll hit Australia, New Zealand, and then we'll probably end up just in the UK. We'll do a couple of gigs there.
Is that it? There's other countries in the world.
Well, those are the only ones we can go to, though.
No, we can go to other countries.
Well, I mean, how would we go about that?
I mean, we would, for example, fly on a plane to France, go sing our songs while being in France.
But I don't know any of the songs in French.
You don't have to. People in France have been listening to the songs in English. We only ever recorded them in English.
Yeah.
So, like, we would play them in English, the language we've always played them in.
Oh,
But
right.
in France, I mean, just they know the songs in English.
Yeah.
You can go there.
Oh,
There are
right.
other bits of the world than the
All right.
English-speaking bits.
Oh, well, I guess we'll look at, like, other bits of the world then, So France, yeah? France. Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to look into this a bit more then. Yeah, thanks for, letting me know.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Harry.
Right, Harry, how you doing?
Oh, it's going to be one of them weeks, mate.
It's going to be one of them weeks indeed.
Yeah, you been up to much?
I've been trying to stay away from the internet this week. It's been a lot, but I've been unfortunately seeing a lot of people planting their digging their heels in on some pretty bad takes.
Yes, yeah.
Particularly around allyship.
Yeah, well, it's been one of those weeks where the people who consider themselves allies, or talk about their allyship a lot, or perhaps branded themselves allies, have decided that what if it was difficult now because there's a thing they really want to do that's connected to someone who's very problematic and is going to fund problematic people, and not even just necessarily trans people, but other types of allyship as well. If you are someone who says that you're a friend to the Jewish community, you probably don't want to get involved either. And it seems like a lot of people just there's like, oh, but I really want to play that one game, and it's not great.
Yeah, specifically, I've been seeing a lot of people while trying to defend their actions this past week, trying to defend actions they know are going to upset specific minority communities.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot with the trans community. I've been seeing a lot of people going, "Oh no, I'm doing the thing that the community has asked me not to do," but like, I'm a self-declared trans ally. I support trans people, therefore. You don't call me transphobic for ignoring what the community is telling me overwhelmingly. And like, it gets me back to a conversation I've had with other people a lot over the years, which is allyship is not a label you get to self-label with.
No.
Allyship is not a thing you are, it is a thing you do.
Yes.
Like, allyship is an act that you perform, and
an ongoing act.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's allyship is doing acts of solidarity for the community, in line with the desires of the community you are trying to ally with.
Even when the community aren't watching. And in fact, especially when the community aren't watching.
Yep, it's one of these things where I see a lot of people like trotting out the I don't think I'm actively transphobic, for example, therefore I'm a trans ally. If someone asked me, should trans people have less rights or more rights, I'd say more rights, so I've decided I'm an ally. So
all those times I retweeted, or quote tweeted to dunk on a transphobe. That's me being an ally.
So
I get to play the wizard game.
I get to play the wizard game, and you can't say that I'm making a choice that hurts the trans community because I'm an ally. I've decided.
It's
even if
bullshit.
even if the trans community in very large numbers right now is telling me that what I am doing is not an act of allyship. I've said I'm an ally, though.
Yeah, well, shit. What more could we ask apart from the right thing?
Exactly, but look, if you're ever someone who is tempted to call yourself an ally for a community you are not a part of, just stop and think. Because if you're going to label yourself an ally, what that ultimately is you want to pat yourself on the back for the things you do for that community.
Yeah.
That's not up to you to do.
No.
Like, you don't get to decide you have earned a gold star for how you treat that community.
No.
You have to keep doing the right thing and have that community decide that you are consistently doing the right thing on an ongoing basis. And, ally is a label that can be taken away at any time if you start doing shitty stuff.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, if you stop doing it just because it's hard, just because it becomes suddenly inconvenient for you, then you are not what you claim to be.
Yeah.
Oh, fancy hug, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Good hug, mate. Good hug, right.
Yeah.
Right, I think we'll pop the kettle on.
Oh, sounds lovely. Sounds lovely.
Nice.
So, Laura, the time is coming. Time is imminent.
Time is imminent.
Time is imminent. We done a book.
Yeah.
Patreon backers, Unbound supporters have already had their EPUB,
Yeah.
their ebooks.
And in the coming days, physical copies will be showing up, and definitely before next week's episode goes up, the book will just be out.
Yeah,
This is the last episode we're doing before the book is, out.
in the wild.
Yeah. Who Wants the Whale?
Who wants the whale?
It's a book.
Hear
We
that?
made that.
Unbound.com/book/whale.
Yeah.
It's available at all good bookshops and even the big evil one, but, there's other places too. But yeah, it's out there. It's a satire about the video game industry, and definitely not, as one review said, definitely not about any big video game company names you could mention. We certainly wouldn't mention them. I don't know why we didn't think about that.
Well, I mean, look, the opening page says that all similarities are purely coincidental.
Yeah.
If you'd like to leave a review, talking about how much you love the book and how much it's definitely a satire that is purely coincidentally tangentially related to real world things, hey, go on Goodreads, drop us a rating. That really helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, Who Wants the Whale? It's out. People have started reading it. Soon we shall know.
Soon.
It's good.
It's good. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
Where else can people find other things that you have?
I'm at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Just type in Laura K. Buzz, you'll find me. That's where I'm at
There
stuff.
you are. I see you right there.
Yeah. Very, very soon, season 10 of Dice Funk will be starting, in which I am a player for half of the episodes and a DM for half of the episodes. Look forward to the exciting adventures of me trying to tell a story with another DM sort of in tandem. Oh, it's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be a fun time. Well, that DM is also a player
Yes.
and also a chaotic little goblin.
It's
I remember Anne.
Yeah. I'll say this much. It's been really fun coming up with characters and then having the other DM use those characters. I'm like, I made that and now you're using that. Look at us
yeah.
go.
Oh,
the
yeah.
tandem storytelling.
Yay!
Yeah. See, I'm learning that. I like telling stories with another person. I did Who Hunts the Whale with you, did season 10 of Dice Funk with Austin. I'm a collaborative storyteller. What about you? Where are you on the internet?
Where am I? Well, I've got a link tree, linktree.ee/Janiac, JANEIAC. You can find the music I made. I make under the name Bedroom Programmer. You can find the t-shirts I've designed. There's loads of fun ones. There's even a Queer and Pleasant Strangers one. There's a bunch of other stuff. Most importantly, you can support me at patreon.com/stoned monkey radio. That helps me pay my bills and justify my life decisions, my poor life decisions. I think that's pretty much everything, Laura. Will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.